Hi, the episode is coming at you in just a minute. I just wanted to take a second to let you know that if you can, leave a 5-star review or follow us on your podcast platform of choice. That really helps the podcast and allows us to continue to provide a platform for independent musicians in Berlin. And it helps provide you, the listener, with more insights and experiences and advice from independent musicians that are living off music and making their way in the independent music scene here in Berlin and in Europe. Thank you very much, and I'll leave you to listen to the episode. Thank you. So yeah, should we start off with the clap?
Yeah,
And
sure.
you can do one and then I'll do one.
Okay.
Okay, welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. I'm sat here today with PUZZLS, an artist who released her technically second EP, I guess, in 2021, Steps, with a slew of singles as well that came with it with similar art style, which I really liked. And
It's actually the first EP, but
Oh no, but I mean, we
Yeah.
can. I don't know if you want to mention it at all, but the EP that you released under a different name that
yeah.
I had the same experiences, whereas I released something and then I was like, it's good that I have something out and I don't hate it, but I can't listen to it, and it's. I mean, it's a first project, you know.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
so this is as PUZZLS, the first EP,
Exactly.
and there was an animated video as well with it. And we'll start off with a little snippet of Over and Over and Over. And that was Over and Over and Over. Before we get into kind of the songwriting and the production behind that, I want to talk a little bit about how you got into music. It wasn't always a plan. You did a film degree, which you can see because a lot of your releases have videos to go with them. And you're very on top of doing the video stuff on social media as well. What was the decision behind, okay, maybe I'm not so interested in doing film as a career. Obviously music is really appealing, but was there a moment or something you realized where you're like, oh, this is actually an option financially as well, where you can make money in music and it's not, it's more than a hobby?
Well, music has been a part of my life for a very, very long time. So even when I was a kid, I used to be part of this little singing group with 4 other girls, and we had high school bands later on, and I also took singing lessons for 5 years in high school. But I never really wrote my own songs, so I always sang covers. I don't know why. I didn't think that I could, or I don't know. It's just it was just the thing. Everybody sang covers, so I sang covers as well. And I think I was a bit of a coward, for the lack of a better word, to kind of pursue it right from the start.
Right.
And film was also a passion and still is. So I don't think that the two things clash.
Have to be separate.
Yeah. So it's completely fine for both of them to exist in the same space. I just decided after high school that maybe I'm just gonna go directly and study film for a while. And while that happened, I got really, really into film, like super into film, and I didn't do anything else. So while during high school and before that, music was still there around me all the time. During university, not at all. And then when I finished, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I wasn't in the place that I thought I would be after university. I don't know. I thought I would be in Hollywood making movies already, you know, how these dreams are. And that didn't happen. I had to move back with my parents, which was like a great failure for me. I thought after university, I would be like, great. And then I was like, okay, there's this time. Why not do something with music? And I started writing my first songs. And I just fell in love with the writing process. So while before I didn't think I could do it, now it's my favorite part, the writing part. So that's how it all happened, I guess.
Yeah, and then you also, on your website, there's some information. Well, obviously it's on streaming as well, but artists you've collaborated with from LA, Mexico, and Germany, and the UK, and it's a lot of countries. And that was kind of also pretty early in terms of after graduating and doing the songwriting, how did you get those collaborations? Was it online because it was during the pandemic as well, or what was that
Yeah,
like?
exactly. So I finished in my bachelor's in 2019, and then 2020 came. So right when I was working on my first songs and trying to meet some people in the industry and get some connections,
Mm-hmm.
lockdown. You can't go anywhere. I had this crazy idea before to start a band with people from all around Europe and just kind of
Okay.
move somewhere together and have this project and film it and put it on YouTube. Like, I had this
Mm-hmm.
huge concept. And I posted it in a group, the Yes Theory group. I don't know if you know that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Um, and some people actually replied.
Mm-hmm.
This was about the band. But then, like, 2 weeks later, everything got shut down. So that never happened. But some of the people who reached out, we actually became friends and collaborated later on as well.
Nice.
And then I just released that EP that we're not going to mention now under a different name,
Mm-hmm.
just so I have something out there, because I feel like if you reach out to someone, you have to show something.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
I didn't want to go without a portfolio
Mm-hmm.
of some sorts. So I just started reaching out to people. I met Jorge, who produced my EP on Reddit, actually, in
Oh,
one of
okay.
the Reddit threads. I don't even know what it was called, but we met there. And after that, it's just Instagram, people just
Right.
reaching out, messaging, hey, can I send you this demo? Yeah.
Yeah.
I record them in my bedroom, send it to them. They mix it, master it, and that's how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I started mixing and mastering also my own songs, because I feel like I have more control over the process and how my
Definitely.
vocals sound like. And I actually like the process. A lot of producers don't like it. They're like, I don't want to mix and master. So
I like mixing and mastering, but doing it with my own vocals is so rough for me. I'm like, I don't want to hear my voice like that for so long.
yeah. So I'm like, okay, if you don't want to do it, just do the production and I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can take over. So
Yeah, nice. And were there any groups or communities you found in that online space of the S Theory group or finding the producer on Reddit that you still use now that the world's not in lockdown?
mhm. I don't use them that much anymore because I feel like I already have quite a lot of contacts.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these contacts I actually made from YouTube. Like, I used to upload a lot of covers back
Right.
then in like 2020, 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the other people who uploaded the same types of covers, usually on Friday when the new songs comes out, and then that's when you want to do it. So like you get more clicks.
Mm-hmm.
They started writing like, hey, cool. And then we started commenting on each other's videos to kind of help each other out. And some of them were from there. So we became friends like that. When it comes to communities, we also have a community that's called Closer to Vision,
Okay.
made by my friend Anastasia. We also met on Instagram. She also loves music. She likes supporting artists. That's why she created this community. So, yeah, there are a lot of artists who are part of it. And then if you want to collab with someone, it's very easy. We have a group chat on Instagram and you can just reach out. So,
Is it mostly done in person or mostly like through a Discord server or Instagram or?
online. So, everything online.
Okay, nice. How have you found coming out of COVID and then having this time where it's like, okay, I have a portfolio that now I'm proud of and I've done all these collaborations. Now I have to meet people in person and find a network through that. Were there any milestones you thought, not milestones, were there any moments where you were like, oh, this is a system that I found that works really well for me. I just have to go and do this thing every week or so.
Mm.
Anything like that that you found helped a lot?
Mm. So, I feel like I'm still doing the same things as I did during
Right.
COVID.
I mean, if it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, it works for me. I found that, so this was also online, but there was only one time where I went on a live songwriting session with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a bit rough for me. I feel like when I write I tend to perform better when I'm alone.
Yeah.
So it wasn't something that was too comfortable. I think it was her first one as well, and we both were a bit like, okay, I don't want to say something stupid, but at the same time, like, we have to talk about this. And it was a very, um, yeah, unique way of writing a song that didn't really work out for me.
I've had lots of those as well, where it's like if something doesn't click or if it's just awkward, and yeah, you have to be okay with saying something stupid because you're making something creative, and like it's if you're too if you shelter yourself too much, then nothing interesting is going to come out.
Yeah, exactly. And I have this problem that I have to get over, that I don't really like to show people anything until I'm like super happy with it. So if I start writing a song, my boyfriend sometimes wants to listen, like, hey, what are you working on right now? And I'm like, no, you can't listen until I finish. And yeah, so no one ever sees my songs before they're actually in the final version. Because that's also why it makes it so hard to collaborate with people like in real live setting, because it's hard.
Do you find it's easier with I had very well, I still do to some extent, but had very much the same like feeling of if this isn't finished, people aren't going to understand people aren't going to notice, understand, and then be like, oh, I get why it's not finished and this part's going to be better. But when I started working more with musicians, I felt that kind of go away a bit because I was like, oh, you also do the same process. You understand what's going to get better. Do you feel the same where it's like easier to show stuff to musicians, or it's easier to show stuff to people that won't hear the problems?
I mainly show stuff to musicians. I never really show stuff before. Well, I sometimes show it to my family, but they're the family, they're always like, oh, this is so great.
Yeah.
And I actually don't mind getting feedback. I actually want feedback. So whenever I send it out, I'm just like, be honest and tell me what you think. And it is, the first time you do it, it's hard because you're scared of getting something, like it's your soul. You put your heart and soul into the song, and then you're scared that someone is gonna completely dismantle it. But but yeah, I feel quite confident in my songwriting, and what I send to people, it's already like I'm quite sure that it's gonna be good in a way. Like if I like it, then I'm fine with it. So I prefer to send it to musicians because, especially also if it's about the mixes and stuff, they hear things better. I'm still very new, so I only started learning it 1.5 years ago, which is still super new for proper mixing and mastering. So
how's your experience been with learning the whole mixing process? Where have you been finding the information for it or finding stuff to practice on?
So I use Logic, and I feel like it's quite user friendly. I used, the first time I did my demos, I used Pro Tools, which was okay, but I think
that's a crazy one to start on.
I'm super cheap, and I had like a free Pro Tools for like a while. At some point there was this discount, so I was like, okay, I might as well do this. And I learned online basically. I attended some classes, some people did some webinars, and just YouTube, and the same with Logic as well.
When you were doing those first demos on Pro Tools, were you recording, because you do R&B, were you recording stuff straight in on guitar, or was it also like trying to use samples and all that on Pro Tools?
It was just recording it in with guitar. And then I also kind of mixed it with BandLab. That's also the free dot online. So that's where I got my other elements.
How's the advancement been in terms of when you started taking it more seriously and you were like, okay, I'm really going to learn to mix because people keep skipping my songs, even though they're good songs. Were there any big steps where you were like, oh, this just makes so much sense and this one trick has improved it mixes so much, or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I learned quite a lot, especially when it comes to mixing vocals.
Right.
And I also started to kind of have my own style in a way.
Yeah.
I like to layer a lot of vocals and have a lot of backing vocals and different elements like that. I really liked that tip where you record the chorus normally and then you record it with one note. So like one note at the same time. It just makes it much fuller.
Okay.
And just random plugins that I don't know, the Fresh Air plugin, that's like so cool. Or the saturation knob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
Things
you
like
say recording with one note, you mean like the melodies go and it's just
Yeah.
like
So
kind
you
of
like
root notes type thing.
yeah. So you have the normal melody and then you find one note from the normal melody that works kind of, and then you
Okay,
just the same thing. At first it sounds weird when you record it like that, but when you put it together, it just makes the chorus much fuller, and I really like that.
Right. Now, when you're doing songwriting, are you doing a lot of that kind of thing immediately, recording in little bits and chunks and moving them around and stuff in Logic? Or is it still very much like you with a guitar or with keys, writing a song, and then you're like, okay, let's move it to production?
So I actually haven't written with the guitar in a very long time because I do not make my own production. So I only write the top line and the lyrics and then record the vocals. I work on already finished
Right.
instrumentals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but I record voice memos into my phone, and then once everything is ready, then I only start recording it on Logic.
Right. Do you usually start with the instrumental or start with the idea and then you're like, okay, let's try to find an instrumental that this could work with?
I started with the instrumental because I feel like, again, I have more control over how the final product is gonna sound like.
Right.
I did it before that. I recorded some idea, and then some people made productions based on that, and it was okay, but I wouldn't have done the same kind of melodies and top line over that instrumental. So yeah, I feel like it's better for me if I work based on instrumentals and not the other way around.
Yeah. With your collaboration with Jorge, the producer you found through Reddit, who produced the whole EP. What's that collaboration looked like? Has it been in person or online where he's sending stuff, or what's that looked like?
So it has been online. So far, none of my collaborations have been in person. And back then, he was in LA.
Right.
I was in Romania. So he just sent me after. So basically, he had on Reddit, he had a huge list of instrumentals that he gave to people, and I was like, yeah, if you want to collab, choose some, and we can move on from there. And I immediately chose two, and on the same day, I got so inspired that I wrote both songs and sent it to him because I was like, I don't want anyone else to take this. And I sent it to him.
Yeah.
He liked it. So we started working, and then he sent me another folder where I chose the next 3 songs. And that's how we basically worked. Just sending stuff around.
Do you remember what the first 2 songs were?
The first one was Pills, and Better on Your Worst Nights was the other one.
Okay, nice. Do you remember, I think, as from his perspective or from the perspective of a producer who's especially doing kind of beat making or that kind of thing, and you're putting stuff online, the big fear is obviously people are going to steal it. Was he using tags in it, or like was there any sort of way to stop that from happening that you remember? Just out of curiosity for myself, because I haven't been able to solve that problem.
There were no tags. It was a SoundCloud playlist.
Right.
So I don't know if it was downloadable. I don't know if undownloadable or
it's rippable
completely
anyway.
like it's rippable.
Yeah.
But I don't think that it was. I'm not sure if it was the entire song or just a snippet. Now that I'm thinking about it, but yeah, I don't really remember anymore.
It was a while ago, to be fair.
Yeah.
Is that the style of songwriting that you still like doing, where you're like looking through instrumentals in really large numbers?
I don't really have the luxury for that anymore.
Right.
So I still prefer it. So I actually bought one instrumental, one song from him actually a month ago.
Cool.
And he sent me another folder. So now I do have the luxury.
Yeah.
But normally people just reach out and then I tell them, okay, send me this idea and we can see if we can work on it. But
That EP also did really, really great. I saw on your website that it had like almost 250,000 streams, which I think is like an odd number as well. So it probably has 250,000 now. Was there, when you were releasing that, did you expect it to be kind of like no one's going to hear it because it's a first full project and then that happened? What was your kind of experience of those probably few days, couple of weeks maybe?
So every time you want to put out something, right, you want it to do well.
Yeah.
So in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I knew that these songs are good or are much better than what I put out before. And I had a huge release plan, like everything dated out and which post, like social media post goes up when and when do we pitch to these songs. I looked into Submit Hub and so I did all those steps that you have to do. But I still wasn't sure that it was going to work because I did that with previous songs as well and it did not work.
Yeah.
What was different this time is that it got put on Spotify editorial playlists.
Okay, right.
So that really changed the whole thing because I added Budapest as my hometown because I'm Hungarian. And then it got on New Music Friday Hungary.
Okay.
And from then on, it got on other playlists as well. The biggest one I think was Borderless, which is like from Europe and different countries. And then since then on, I feel like once you're on a Spotify editorial playlist, you have a bigger chance of being on them. I think there was only one song since then that hasn't been on a playlist.
Wow.
And I think it was because before that song, there was a longer period when I did not release. It's also an algorithm, so you have to kind of keep it up.
Yeah. And it's also like coming across people's, well, not obviously not in paper, but across people's desks. And I feel like they start to recognize a name, especially because it's the same people. And for like Hungary New Music Friday, it's going to be one or two people working on that.
Yeah.
So they recognize it. Is there anything you learned from doing that in terms of pitching? We were like, where maybe you didn't do it for the first few singles, and then when you did it for the EP, or when you started to get success with pitching, what did you change, if anything?
Yeah, I pitch at least 4 weeks before.
Right.
They say that you should do that at least 1 week before, but I like to give enough time for myself as well, because if I have 4 weeks before, then I can time social media posts and TikToks and everything else in between, and I can start getting ready. Plus, I think it was in the description. So before that little, I don't know how many characters you can use, 500, less than that. I don't know.
It's short.
It's super short. I used to do it very, how should I say this? Like it wasn't too emotional.
Right.
So
like very objective, maybe.
Yeah, very objective. Like this is the song, and this is how I'm gonna promote it, and blah blah blah. Very structured and not too emotional. And then with the EP, I kind of switched it a bit and talked more about what the song is about and how it makes you feel. It was kind of like a sales pitch, basically.
Yeah.
Like if you read this little snippet of text, you want to listen to the song. And I think that was a major difference, which worked, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. You also, in the same, I think it was on your EPK or something, it said that you had a lot of support when you were doing the covers from a Brazilian YouTube channel. Did they just kind of find you and were supportive, or like it's pretty random? Why did that end up happening?
Yeah. So how did that even end up happening?
Well, you can also start with why you were doing covers, which is important for people to find you, but what that kind of looked like when you were like, yeah, I want to start doing music. What do I need to do? Why did it end up being covers?
I just wanted to put myself out there and do more with music. And then because I did covers and I did them very often,
Mm-hmm.
it also helped me just getting better at the guitar, just singing
Yeah.
in general, and also discovery, I mean, on YouTube.
Mm.
That was the main goal, I would say. And with this YouTube channel, they actually found another channel who they reached out to and uploaded their song. And
Right.
then it was actually my boyfriend's song. And then he told me about this channel. Hey, he has a lot of followers. You can check him out and see if he would like to upload your song as well.
Yeah.
So that's how it.
And
That's
then
how
you
it.
just write an email and you were like,
Yeah.
here's my covers.
Yeah, but it wasn't the cover, so only this was the original songs.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah, he uploads the original songs, but it's paid now, so you have to pay for him to do that.
Yeah, well, you got a good time then, just before that happened. And the music is a mix sometimes it has instrumentation, sometimes it's more digital. For translating that to performance, how did you approach that? Were you kind of immediately like, it's going to be a backing track and just vocals, or trying to find other ways to make the performance more live?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So initially it was backing tracks only. I don't have a band. If you want to be in my band, reach out. So yeah, it was a no-brainer. The instrumentals were there. It was easier. It's also me by myself on stage, lower production and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I didn't really have time to prepare either because my first ever performance was a contest that I won.
Oh.
And I found out that I won a month and a half before.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't find a band and train everyone, learn the songs. So I just was like, okay, me and my laptop, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to have a band one day and make the productions more engaging live, because it's also very exhausting by yourself on stage for an hour. Sometimes, I feel like I always have to engage and tell jokes, and I can never have a silent moment. So I really want to. I incorporated guitar in some of the latest shows, and some of my latest songs also that are not out yet have more like rock alternative vibes as well. So I can include the guitar. But yeah, one day I would like to have a band. So we have I don't know, it's just a different feeling when you have an entire band on stage. It looks different. It gives a different energy to people. Yes, I can keep energy up by myself as well, but by if draining myself completely. But yeah, it would be nice.
Mm-hmm. When you were studying film, was being a performer a goal at all, or were you definitely behind the camera?
It wasn't. So I studied directing. I was always behind the camera. Writing the scripts as well, but never really in front of the camera.
Right. How has the experience been learning from zero to doing performances, which an hour performance on stage where it's just you is like a lot to do. How's the experience been learning that?
I had to practice a lot. So I did not think that I would be out of breath so fast. The first time I wanted to practice my entire set, after 2 songs, I was completely like, how can I do this for an hour? But I just practiced every single day, the entire set from the beginning to the end until that show, and it helped. Right now I'm also running. So I incorporated that into my sport routine 3 times a week, every other day, every morning. Have to run to keep my stamina up. Maybe for a headline show one time in the future. I'm already preparing for that.
Yeah.
But that's...
You recently... Oh, sorry.
No, no.
Oh, okay. No, you recently performed at a festival as well. What was the experience like for that? How did you come across the festival, or did they get in touch with you? Sort of how did you get on the festival, and then what was the experience like performing there?
It was another contest.
Oh, okay.
So in Hungary, it has a lot of contests for up and coming people to kind of get themselves out there. And this was one of them. One of my friends who I met online, Esther,
Mm-hmm.
whose artist name is Girl in the Mirror, if you want to check her out, she sent me the opportunity and I just signed up. I sign up basically for everything like this because it's a great opportunity. I don't know if I'm going to get it or not, but this time
But
I
you
got
won't if you
it.
don't try.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So this time I got it. And it was very interesting to see how they also organize some of these festivals. And it was one of the greatest experiences, to be honest. It was my biggest show so far when it comes to audience
Mm-hmm.
and stage as well. And yeah, it was just great. There were, I think, so it was the side festival of a bigger festival,
Mm-hmm.
but they sold many tickets and there was a bigger demand, so they made another one, a
Oh,
smaller one for the rest of the people. And yeah, there were 3 stages, and right before my set, the main stage, the act stopped. So during my first song, there was only like 2, 3 people. But
right.
then once that stopped, everybody started
That's
spreading
cool.
around and coming there, and then people just kept coming and never left, which was a very great feeling
Yeah.
on stage. And it was again an hour set, but it didn't feel like it at all. I had a lot of fun.
Nice.
People were very interactive.
Mm-hmm.
I also try to find certain gimmicks to kind of get people going, and
Yeah, yeah.
I have these bubbles that you like blow because some of my songs have that effect, and
Mm-hmm.
they're kind of bubbly feeling. So I place them at the front of the stage, and then I make them come closer because a lot of the times people are scared to come
Yeah.
close to the stage, especially when they don't know the artist.
Mm-hmm.
So that way they come and they can play with the bubbles. I also gave out puzzle pieces,
Okay, yeah.
signed puzzle pieces, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, one day in the future we'll have to meet up to make this puzzle
Puzzle.
together."
Oh, that'd be so cool. If it like, yeah, that would
Yeah,
be really cool.
it would be cool. I mean, I still have a lot of this is like a 1,000 piece puzzle, so a lot
Oh.
of those are still with me.
Mm-hmm.
In next shows, I can give them out in other cities. It would be cool if
Yeah.
it would be possible to
Have
meet
you,
up one day. Yeah,
yeah. Have you found that your audience is mostly Hungarian because of the audience found through Spotify?
yeah, definitely.
Was the sorry, you
No,
okay? Was the audience at the festival also mostly Hungarian, or was it pretty international?
it was Hungarian.
Oh, okay,
So
nice.
I asked before if I should speak in English or Hungarian in between the songs, and they were like, "Yeah, you should speak in Hungarian because it's mainly
Yeah, yeah.
Hungarian," which was a bit hard for me because English now is more like my everyday language.
Mm-hmm.
And usually during my sets, I also speak in English. So in my head, I was like, I had to translate things. Even if
Yeah,
Hungarian is my
mother tongue.
mother tongue, it's because you don't use it every day. It's a bit
Yeah,
harder.
yeah. No, that's great though to be able to have that kind of like connection still. Have you been able? How much have you been able to translate that Hungarian audience to Berlin? Because obviously it's great if the any audience is great, but if it's in a city where you are able to perform all the time, it's better for selling tickets. How's that been? Has there been anything that you've had really success with in terms of like translating it to here?
I haven't really had success with that. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
figuring it out. I haven't had a show in Berlin
Mm,
at all. I mean, I've been to like an open mic, but that's
right.
not my own
Yeah.
show. I try to reach out to people. I always send a lot of emails and
Mm-hmm.
things when like smaller bands come and they're like, "Hey, do you need an opening
Yeah.
act?"
Mm-hmm.
Haven't had success yet,
Okay. Yeah.
but if anyone wants an opening act, I'm free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still figuring it out. Even with the Hungarian audience, right? With Spotify editorial playlists, I have a lot of listeners. I had even more when the EP came out. I had like 20,000 monthly listeners, which is huge for a small artist.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to convert them into fans and kind of get them to follow your Instagram, check out your TikTok. So I'm still struggling with the Hungarian audience as well.
Yeah.
I couldn't just show up in Budapest
Right.
in 3 weeks and have a sold out show. Probably like
Yeah.
2-3 people would show up.
Yeah, because it's really hard to get to create a relationship with enough people to sell out a show. Was there a point in your years of developing your music where you decided to do the songs in English instead of doing them in Hungarian and trying to get that home audience or the audience in the country you grew up in? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It was English from the start, so there was no question about that. English has been a very comfortable language for me for a very long time. Since the 7th grade, I've been reading exclusively in English. I think that was a huge part of it. I read a lot. I watched movies in English mainly, so it also came very naturally to me. I don't remember learning English at all, which is not the same with German or any other languages that I'm trying to learn. I feel the struggle there, but with English, there was never that. Plus, they also say that with each new language that you learn, you kind of unlock a new part of your personality.
Yeah.
And I am quite of a shy, introverted person, especially used to be more. And I kind of associate that with my Hungarian side.
Okay, yeah.
So English was kind of very liberating to me. And I feel more comfortable whenever I can speak English when I'm around people who speak English. I don't know, it's something.
No, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that's why also it was a very, obvious choice for me to do it in English. But when I got onto all of these Spotify editorial playlists and I started having Hungarian listeners, I was like, okay, I might as well write some songs in Hungarian, show even more that, hey, I'm Hungarian, I'm part of you. Trying to get them to listen more.
Yeah.
So that's why I wrote my first song, and now I have 2 actually Hungarian songs.
Nice. Yeah. Do you feel that do you feel you're more comfortable releasing things in English because the language is maybe less like connected to family and childhood and all of those experiences? Or do you think it's because of the structure and the grammar and the vocabulary of the language?
Interesting question. Maybe both in a way. Also, it's such a universal language right now that you can reach more people with it anyways. And yeah, I think it goes back to this feeling more free while existing in English compared to other languages. But right now I'm learning Spanish because I have a lot of Spanish fans.
How's that going?
Yeah, I started with Duolingo, and Duolingo was not fast enough for me. I mean, at the beginning, I used to do like 5-6 lessons a day, very seriously, spend that 20 minutes. But then after that, it's very like, oh, I just want to keep my streak up, so let me quickly do this 2-minute. So now I bought 2 books, one short stories and one actual grammar book. So hopefully I'll be able to do it soon, because I feel like Spanish people and in general, Spanish Mexican are they're very passionate about music, and I also really like how Spanish sounds, and I want to explore that kind of sound. So
and it's also a massive music industry as well in terms of an audience. There was something I was going to ask about just that. I forgot. Did you have? Oh yeah, the Hungarian. I think is. I might be mistaken because I think I heard this like 10 years ago, and I was like, oh, interesting. A really hard language to learn for foreigners because it's not related to a lot of stuff around it. Have you found any of English, German, or Spanish a lot easier to learn coming from a? Well, I guess English you didn't learn; it was more acquired, I guess. But have you found German? Have you found speaking Hungarian useful in learning either Spanish or German at all?
Hungarian, not so much. So
Yeah.
it's true. It's very, very. It's a unique language. It's, I don't know, maybe close to Finnish, kind
Okay.
of, but not really. So there is this image with the languages like a tree, language tree, and then all the languages are on one branch, and then the Hungarian is just somewhere on the side.
Yeah.
It's very hard. I guess I'm lucky that it's my mother tongue, so I don't have to learn it.
Yeah.
Because people have a lot of trouble with it.
Mhm.
But Romanian, I also speak Romanian because I'm
Okay,
from
right.
Romania. So that I think helps. There's a lot of similar things. But German, again, yeah. Spanish, definitely. So Romanian, Spanish.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah, but German, I don't know. I have a weird relationship with German. I have a B2 level, so
Right.
it should be.
So you can
Yeah, I
speak.
mainly understand everything. I don't
Yeah.
really speak because I'm self-conscious and I don't want to like pronounce the words wrong.
Yeah, I
So-
did a German episode and listening back and hearing my German was horrible. And I mean, it's all understandable, and I feel I'm probably just self-conscious about it. But yeah, so
Yeah.
much worse than I could have imagined my pronunciation was. I'm just gonna see if I can prop this down.
Yeah. So the other
Yeah.
day, I was somewhere and someone started speaking in German, and then I was like, okay, this is my time. I get up the courage, and it came out so wrong. I was like, okay, let's just switch to English because
Yeah.
yeah.
It's so frustrating, but it comes with time. Did you have Hungarian music in the household growing up, or was it mostly English as well?
In the household, we had Hungarian music.
Mhm.
But I personally mainly listen to English songs. I got this Sony red little Walkman,
Oh,
and I brought it with me everywhere. I literally listen to songs like 24/7, so it was there. But growing up, I mainly had contact with folkish
right.
music. So we had this little group where with the girls where we sang folk songs, or when you grew up, like children's songs and all that.
Yeah.
So I think my Hungarian songs kind of have a bit of that,
Makes sense.
because that's what I was in contact with. I never really was in contact with pop or contemporary music. So whenever I think about writing a song, I start thinking about folk elements and like nature and things like that. So
Yeah. Do you have any recommendations for people who are curious about that genre? I'm always really self-conscious giving English folk recommendations because it's like weird. A lot of people, I think, because you don't grow up with it, but just out of curiosity.
maybe folk is the wrong word here for me. Like the
Like
traditional
Yeah.
kind of
No,
songs.
that's right, folk.
But
Yeah.
I can't give a recommendation for like an artist because
Right.
these are like
songs that everyone knows, and it's kind of lost.
songs that everyone knows. So
So no, really.
not really.
No, that's okay. We've done 45 minutes, pretty much done. Do you have, obviously you do, but this is your moment to promote. Do you have anything you want to direct the people towards?
Yes, so I just had a release that's called Try to Read Between the Lines, again produced by Jorge. And if you'd like to, give it a listen.
Yeah, cool. And all the information will be in the description. Thank you very much to everyone who's still listening. Please, if you can, leave reviews. It helps us a lot. Go follow us on social media. Everything is available in this description. Go check it out. And of course, thank you to PUZZLS. Thank you
Thank
for
you for
coming on.
having me.